for anyone who wants to revisit it. My name is Cheryl Sochet, and I am the North American Sales Director for LVI America. This webinar is Tools for Teachers. I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera off, um, and we will get started. This session is really built for teachers of the visually impaired and resellers serving that market. Others attending, these ideas can transfer across VR, VA, independent living, and other contexts. This is for a CVREP certification, so we will have a slide at the end that can tell those of you who need that certification how to access that. Let's go over what we're going to talk about today. So the arc of the session is really building towards the process of coming to a single solution for a particular student. And as a part of that, we need to think about, why does this matter? There are so many factors that go into considering what's the right fit for a student. We also need to kind of lay the framework of key accessibility features that need to be considered when creating this system. We are going to look at some particular tools, and looking at these particular tools will give you some translatable information about how to think about creating a good system. We will think about the right camera and matching the right camera to the right environment. And then think about all the different bits that you need to put together for a real student scenario, and making sure that we have ticked all the boxes to best accommodate that particular student. And I will, for sure, at the end, have room for questions. Next slide. Yep. So this is an ACVREP session, certified session. So we do have some key learning objectives. Those objectives are, by the end, you should be able to name at least 3 key accessibility features that support students with low vision or blindness. The second thing you should be able to do is compare at least 2 camera solutions based on use case and classroom environment. And then the third thing is, you should be able to design at least 1 complete educational bundle, software plus hardware plus some additional peripherals for a specific student scenario. And you guys, the people who are attending this, you guys know the vision issues, you understand blindness versus low vision and all the different things therein. So really, we want to get into more factors than just the vision that we're going to discuss, and thinking about what can drive us to a good decision. The first thing is, on this slide, we have 6 different tabs on this slide, and the first consideration often in a school context is budget. And with budget, we have APH funds and quota funds to consider. We have what districts can fund now, and whether or not that solution is going to be appropriate and be of good use later within that budget. Is it a device that can be used with multiple platforms? Lots of different things to think about within the budget context. So that's an important factor when you are starting to think about, what kind of system within my budget constraints can I build for this student? The second tile I have on this slide is changing vision needs. More often than not, you're going to have some shifting in vision over time, and even shifting in vision throughout the day. So we need to make sure that we're thinking about using tools that can move with the student's functional vision capacity, and move with the student's changing vision over the longer periods of time. Something we need to look at is, do we have a tool that can move from magnification, add speech, add some speech, add more speech, and that might transition into Braille and other types of tactile and audio learning. Another thing we have to think about, and this is the third tile on the slide, is portability. Is this student stationary, or is the student on the move? If the student is on the move, How far do they have to go? How often do they move? What kinds of settings are they going to? How big is the desk? How easy is it to get their configuration set up on said desk? So, portability and being able to unpack things, get it set up, repack things in a reasonable amount of time is really critical when we're thinking about designing a system for a student. The fourth tile on this slide is product support and training. So when you are considering what type of system is best for a student, it is important to pause and think about how is that product going to be supported, either through my local reseller, through other vision rehabilitation resources, through the manufacturer, YouTube videos, documentation. All those sorts of things are really, really, really important to making sure the student doesn't miss a beat and is confident using the system that has been established for them. It's really important to think about this. And then the last tile here, and this is an important one, is student willingness. Is the student willing to put that unit, that system, that camera, that device on their desk and be comfortable using it? We know that buy-in when it comes to students beats specs. We often have the discussion in the industry about camera quality or screen size, things like that. And in functional assessments, those types of things might be valued more than a student's willingness to use those things. In other words, if you've got a super high power camera that's really big with a 24-inch monitor sitting on a desk, and you're going to have to pack all that up and move it around, the student's willingness to use something that looks very different and that is complex to set up and take down, they just may never use it. So we do need to think about buy-in versus specs when we're creating a system that a student will actually use. Next slide. So now we need to talk about, now that we kind of have an idea of some factors to think about when we're trying to pick out what components could put together a system for a student, whether it's the computer, software, cameras, etc. Now we need to think about accessibility features. So when it comes to technology and vision loss and access in a classroom, there are a number of things that we should think about. With this particular context, we are talking about cameras, so we're assuming that the student has usable vision or low vision. So let's think about accessibility, the accessibility feature of magnification. So that's the first tile on this slide. So can we smoothly enlarge things on the screen with adjustable levels? Can we change colors? Can we change contrasts? Can we change line spacing? So what kind of settings do we have in our magnification on a particular system or related to a smartboard? The next thing we need to think about is speech, text to speech. When you're thinking about speech and text to speech, it's not all or nothing, right? So it's not a student is going to use magnification and then stop using magnification and they're going to move straight to speech. There's a spectrum in there. So we could have a system that has or software that has magnification and then some speech features, some verbosity, some areas where it's going to be more efficient for the student to be able to access that speech feature in addition to the magnification, all the way to a student being able to transition to full text to speech, where everything is represented audibly and a student can navigate around a system to be able to have that input and have the content on that screen represented audibly. So that's the second tile, speech and text to speech. The third tile would be screen reading and Braille. So if you have a student who would like full non-visual access and be able to use refreshable Braille to actually read instead of listen to the content on the screen, now we're transitioning into using screen reading software that can pair up with a Braille device so that that content can be represented in Braille. That's the third tile. The fourth tile is OCR, or optical character recognition. So optical character recognition is just an algorithm that's used in a lot of different contexts. And in our context, what that is a camera capturing an image that has text on it, and the algorithm does something with that text. It creates a file, and now we can do things with that file. We can make a digital representation of that captured text to smooth out the edges, to change contrast, to change space settings. We can convert that into speech. We can convert that into Braille. So OCR as a feature in a system like this can be key for many students. And then the fifth tile would be camera connectivity. Many classrooms these days have Promethean boards, smart boards, boards that are going to represent online or digital content in the front of the classroom. For students with vision impairments, this can be problematic in a number of ways. So there are a number of different types of technologies that can grab that content and then mirror it directly on the student's device within an environment where the student can access their favored magnification, their favored contrasts, their favored color combinations, speech, all those sorts of things. So these are 5 accessibility features to consider in a classroom that can absolutely move the needle as it relates to assistive technology: magnification, speech, text to speech, screen reading in Braille, OCR or optical character recognition, and then that camera or smartboard connectivity. Next slide. So now that we have laid that groundwork, let's think about things from a software point of view. So we've got our kind of our 5 accessibility keys that we thought about. Well, how can we represent that in software? And we're going to highlight software called Supernova by Dolphin. But before I do that, I do want to mention that in most classrooms today, we either have students in school systems using what's been used for years and years and years, and that is software from Freedom Scientific or Zoom Text, Fusion, JAWS, that suite of softwares. We also have classrooms that are using the resident accessibility features, screen readers and screen magnification. So in the Windows environment, they might be using Narrator and Zoom. And say an Apple iPad environment, they might be using VoiceOver. We also have some school systems that are using free versions of these softwares, for instance, NVDA. Dolphin Computer Access is a company out of the UK that has had a collection of products, mostly softwares, for about 40 years. So they've been around for a long time. It's a popular choice in Europe, and it is an interesting option to consider for your student. And let me tell you just a little bit about it. The software Supernova is all in one. So it has your magnification. It has magnification with some speech. It has a full screen reader. It has the ability for you to use that screen reader with Braille devices. It also has the ability to connect and pull the content from a whiteboard and place it right on the screen. It also has the ability to connect a document camera so that you can grab a picture of some text and then convert it to OCR. And it also has the ability to have your textbooks right in that environment. So it's an interesting alternative that's not been well known in the United States, but it's got some excellent features that we will go through in a little more depth. Next slide. So some features within Supernova that are built for the classroom. One is called Connect and View. So oftentimes teachers, they've got their laptop might be mirrored up to a whiteboard. So Connected View is going to allow our student to connect to that content and have it presented right there on their device. With their accessibility features, that help them to be more efficient, whether it's the magnification, contrast, alternative colors, speech, braille, etc. So that's a powerful tool in the classroom to be able to access. Another one is Doc Reader and Line View. So this is a feature that's going to reduce visual clutter, reflow busy pages into clean, simplified reading in the student's preferred font and color. A lot of students, depending on their diagnosis and their functional vision, they're going to have a lot of challenge with visual clutter. Doc Reader and Line View is going to help settle all that down, just dial into the main part of the text content and format it in a way that's most accessible for a student. Another thing that's a great feature that's built for a classroom, you can save settings per class so that as soon as that class starts, that particular profile pops up for you. So there's a lot of customizability within the Supernova software, not only, for instance, if a school system has it, not only per individual student, but even within an individual student, they can configure things and set things up to have the most efficiently per environment. And it will pop up like that every single time. And then also snapshot and OCR. So let's say you've got something on the screen and you're having a difficult time accessing that. Maybe it's an inaccessible PDF. You might be able to freeze that and then run the OCR algorithm, and it will create that file. And then you can do what you need to do with that file. Either have that digital representation of the text and pick your own font, your own colors, have it read out loud, or have it exported to a Braille device. Same thing with hard copy content. You can have a document camera and capture that, and then also have that spoken, read out as spoken text. The other interesting thing about Supernova is it has Easy Reader, which is a popular app that's also by Dolphin, built into it. So you can have your textbooks right there in your Supernova and be able, again, to access your preferred settings, your color preferences, your spacing preferences, all those things right at your fingertips. So that's a powerful integration as well. Next slide. Now we think about the camera lineup. So we've talked a little bit about a document camera, and we've talked a little bit about the ability of Supernova to connect to the student's whiteboard. Well, what if you have a teacher, say, in a math class that has a whiteboard and they're using their dry erase markers and they are working formulas on a whiteboard? Then you're going to need a distance camera connected to your system. So Supernova and LVI cameras work hand in hand. You can have a camera connected to your computer, or you can have an all-in-one unit. So let's kind of look at the LVI camera lineup and talk a little bit about that as we drive towards the decision making to get the system put together for our student. You can have an all-in-one system that has a stand, either an iPad or a Surface Pro, and an external camera. This configuration is super helpful if you have a student who wants an all-in-one system, just everything all in one. They don't want to have to pieces, parts, things together. So this all-in-one system, let's talk about the tab. The tab is a Surface Pro. So the Surface Pro is inserted into the stand. You can pair a Bluetooth keyboard with it. It is a fully functioning Windows machine. With that Windows machine, you can have Supernova added to it or installed on it. You can use that external camera that is shown and point it at the whiteboard and actually record the teacher doing the formulas or writing out the math problems on that whiteboard. You have all your tools built into the LVI software as well as the Supernova software so that you can change the contrast, you can enlarge, you can do all manner of things within those softwares while you are having your distance camera pointed at whatever classroom content you need to capture. So an all-in-one unit, great for the student who just wants one and done, one device and done. The second option we have on the screen is a very popular camera called the Magnalink S Premium 2. This is a full HD camera. It folds up and is about 4 pounds, a little bit over 4 pounds. And the great thing about this device, we have a number of school systems that use this device because it works with PCs, iPads, MacBooks. It works with what I'll call dumb monitors or just a regular monitor, and it works with Chromebooks. It's one of the few devices out there that will work with a Chromebook. So it's multi-platform. It's got lots of different positions that you can put it in. You can add a docking station so that a student could have access to an XY table, reading table for more efficiency. Again, super, super popular device. Students really love it. And they love it so much and did talk a little bit about the weight. So we came out with the Magnalink Mini. That's the third LVI camera you see on the screen. So the Magnalink Mini is the same camera as you see with the Magnalink Tab, iTab, or the Magnalink S. It's the same camera. It's just on very, very lightweight tripod. Very simple to pull it out of a case, USB-C, plug it into a PC or an iPad, and off you go. So the difference between the Magnalink Mini and the Magnalink S, the Magnalink Mini is only going to connect to a PC or an iPad. It's a lot lighter weight. It's going to use different, on the LVI side, it's going to use different software, but it does the same things in terms of being an excellent distance camera. It also can serve as your document camera, and it's portable. You can take it from class to class. Next slide. So you need to think about matching the camera to the environment. If you think you have to think about desk size, you have to think about the speed with which a student can get it out of the case, set it up, and then break it down, put it in the case, and move on to the next class. So the tabs and iTabs, people do use these to go from class to class. I think in this setup, it says mostly one room, fixed desk. They're not difficult. They're not difficult to set up in multiple classrooms, but perhaps not quite as easy as it would be a Magnalink Mini. So if you're concerned about weight, if even a couple of pounds makes a difference, the Magnalink Mini is super easy to fold down, pop in a case, unpack, plug into your USB-C port, and off you go. It's easy to rotate between classrooms. If you need to use Supernova, then you're going to consider any one of the three of these. The standalone Magnalink Tab, the one with the Surface Pro, that can take Supernova. The Magnalink Mini using a PC can use Supernova, and also the Magnalink S using a PC can use Supernova. For school systems that use iPads, Macs, or Chromebooks, the Magnalink S is a very great and viable alternative, especially for those school systems who use Chromebooks. And then if a priority is a whiteboard or a priority is the student who really needs the camera mostly for distance, sure, some document reading, but mostly for distance, the Mini is an excellent, excellent device for that. Next slide. So let's dial into the Magnalink Mini. It is truly portable, just over a pound. It has a very small case that it fits into. It's lightweight. The case, depending on the size of the backpack, that little case can pop into a backpack. I was on a meeting with the LVI team probably about a week and a half ago, and they're actually right now in some talks with the people who provide our cases to make the case even smaller. So we understand and we hear the feedback that size matters and that the smaller, the better when it comes to students being willing to actually use these devices. So that is an edit that we're working on right now. So the next point on this slide says 2 cameras, 1 head. So what that means is you have the ability to use the camera as a document camera, the way it's shown on the slide right now, the camera is pointing down towards the surface. So if you put your document right under it, then yes, it can capture that and do whatever function you execute within either the tab viewer or PC viewer software. You can also take that camera and move it, say 45 degrees, and point it towards the whiteboard or the chalkboard or the smartboard. So it'll do two cameras in one. You can point it one way and you've got your distance viewing, point it another way, and you've got your document viewing. The next feature, this is really, really, really important to think about with your student. And you'll see this towards the end when we bring all this together for our student and create her system. Full HD, 10x optical zoom. Our cameras are known in the industry as being some of the best cameras out there. They have exceptional quality, exceptional quality. When you are considering which camera to use and which device to get for your student, you definitely need to take the device that you're considering into the classroom and seat your student where they would be sitting. If they want to sit all the way in the back, put that device all the way in the back and use the camera and see how well it does with content all the way at the front of the class. All cameras are not created equal. And sometimes as we mentioned at the beginning, there's a buy-in versus specs. So the buy-in for the student might be, I want the tiniest, lowest profile camera ever because I don't want to look different than my peers. If that's the case, put it in the back of the room and ensure that the student is going to be able to access the content that they need versus getting one that's a little bit bigger profile, but has that ability to grab that content from the front of the classroom and present it in a sharp, crystal clear image quality. Important distinction there. And you do have to dial into that buy-in versus specs, particularly with camera quality. And then you also need to think about how is the camera connected. With the MagnaLink Mini, it just has that one cord that you see coming off of the head of the device, the head of that camera, and that's a USB-C connection. That USB-C connection does draw power from the device that it's connected to and does also transmit that data, that audiovisual data, back and forth from the camera to the device. Next slide. So we've talked a little bit about the three different options with these LVI cameras, kind of the all-in-one versus the MagnaLink S versus the MagnaLink Mini. So let's kind of go down a little bit of a decision tree to kind of think about what might fit best in which location. So form factor, the all-in-one tablet has everything. It has the tablet, it has the camera, it has the software. Everything's just all in one device that goes in one case. It's your Swiss Army knife that does every single thing you need it to. Versus the MagnaLink Mini form factor, it's just the camera, and then you bring whatever PC or whatever iPad you want to that device and connect those two to make your system. So do you want all in one, or do you already have a device and just need a camera to add to it? Host device. So with the MagnaLink Tab, it is again self-contained. The tab is that Surface Pro. The iTab is an iPad. So all contained, all in one. And the iTab and tab, it's either PC or iPad, depending on how you purchase that product. And then the MagnaLink Mini, again, it's going to connect to what you already have. A note here, there are some minimum specs that you need to consider. With iPads, it will work with an iPad with an M2 chip or higher. Really, really sings and does much, much better with an M4 chip or higher. Windows PC, I don't know those specs off the top of my head. I believe you need to have an i5 processor, probably minimum 8 gigs of RAM, probably 16 is going to be a little bit better. And when we're talking about using the different softwares, a touchscreen for the PC is probably a good idea in terms of a spec as well. Best environment. You can say that the iTab or the tab might be good for a fixed desk someone that's going to be in the same place and may not want to pack something up and down, this is a good primary workstation device. The MagnaLink Mini, super, super lightweight, very easy to take from one location to the next, packing it up for travel, working with your current technology. It's just a great device for portability. Cameras, when you think about the MagnaLink Tab or iTab, that camera that comes with that device, it's the external camera that comes with that device. That camera is only used with the MagnaLink Tab or iTab. You don't take that to other devices. The MagnaLink Mini, you could have, for instance, going to the classroom, a preference for using your iPad to take notes, and you can connect the Mini and be recording the lecture while you're using that iPad to take notes. And then maybe at home, you might want to connect the Mini to your PC so that you can do some OCR, capture your textbook, capture images on your textbooks, or use the note filling form to complete some worksheets. So MagnaLink Mini, you're going to be able to connect it to multiple different devices, iPads or PCs in different locations. The cameras with the Tab or iTab, that's just within that one unit. And so when do you choose one or the other? When the student wants one and done, pick that Tab or iTab. When the student wants to use their existing devices and moves from room to room and may have different devices at home and at school, the MagnaLink Mini might be a good idea. Next slide. So now let's think about our student. When you're thinking about how to create the right bundle, you start with a student. So you start with kind of the human. Let's think about the human's vision. What are those visual needs? Does the student's vision fatigue easily over time? Is the student's vision loss progressive? What grade are they in? How do they like to work? Do they like a touchscreen? Do they like a tablet-based solution? Do they need a camera that's going to do distance and near? So just think about that student and what their preferences is, and also think about, is that student particular about how things look? And if so, how can you negotiate with that student to make sure they're getting the best device for their needs and one that they'll actually use? Map out the day. Where does the student go? How do they handle weight? How do they handle setting up a device and then breaking down a device? How do they deal with those types of things, given the map of their day and the locations of where they need to travel from place to place? What platform does a student use? What does a student require? Some students are going to require Chromebooks. They're not going to move off that at all, ever. Some schools are going to be willing to say, Chromebook might not be the best solution, so let's go ahead and work with an iPad or a two-in-one Windows solution. So pick the platform, what platform, and then also within that, make sure you understand the specs and have specs that match the rest of the peripheral devices that you're going to use, the softwares and the peripheral devices you're going to use with that platform, with that device. And then the final thing is, what kind of camera do you need? Do you need it for distance and document? What are the size needs, the weight needs? What about audio? Does the student need to be hearing the teacher along with the text-to-speech output while they're accessing a lecture? What about power? Do they need a power bank? If they need a power bank, do they need a hub? And what about a case to put it all together and carry it around? Next slide. So we're going to introduce you to Maya, our 7th grade student with low vision. So Maya has reduced acuity. She has usable vision. Her vision can fluctuate, and she can have kind of decreased functional visual acuity at the end of the day when she's had a lot of visual demands. She is in a typical school. She has a TVI that kind of helps her from time to time, but she is mainstreamed and she rotates to 6 different classes during a day. She already is comfortable with Supernova. She uses the school uses Windows platform, so she already has a Windows 2-in-1. So let's think about what kinds of features or what things she has, demand she has during the day. She does need to see the whiteboard from the back of a classroom. She needs to read textbooks, both digital and hard copy. She does have worksheets that she has to complete. She needs to pack up and move every 50 minutes. She needs to be able to listen to long passages. She needs to have access to listening to long passages in her textbooks or online when her eyes fatigue. She needs to be able to listen to the teacher and have some of that speech output. She needs to be able to do that at the same time on occasion. And she needs to make it through a full day without hunting down an outlet. Next slide. So let's put together a bundle for her. She's using Dolphin Supernova. So Supernova, again, has that magnification. When she's tired, she can add some level of speech to it. It has the screen reading, and she can use this on her Windows 2-in-1. Her Windows 2-in-1, we're going to say, has a tablet-like device, and it has a touchscreen. Dolphin Supernova was designed for a touchscreen. It works very, very, very well with the pinch and zoom and finger scrolling and navigation. Very, very well. So she already has that. She's comfortable with that. So Dolphin Supernova is her software basis. She does need to have a powerful camera, that 10x optical zoom, because she sits at the back of a class. She's going to need that kind of camera to be able to get that, grab that, those images from the front of the classroom and present them with a very crystal clear image quality. So needs a camera like that. So the MagnaLink Mini. And for her device, we're calling it a Windows 2-in-1. For her, it's a Surface Pro. So she has a Surface Pro. It's touchscreen. She can pair this with a Folio case and keyboard. Microsoft does have a keyboard that has large print that can serve as a case and a folio, high contrast large print buttons, like big letter keyboard. So she can get one of those. And then also she's going to need a little bit of a hub to make sure that she's got the ability to plug in power bank, so that she's got that power lasting throughout the day. And then maybe she needs like Shock's bone conduction headset so that she can hear what's going on with her device and attend to the teacher at the same time. And then working with, say, an OT or with the school, we can look for a case that accommodates all these things so that it won't be difficult for her to pull out her Surface, plug this in, plug that in, and off she goes. She's ready for the day. Next slide. So how this is all going to work together, if you've got a hub, you can plug the Surface into the hub in one spot. You can plug the MagnaLink Mini in, and then you'll also have a place to plug in your power. You might also even have a slot to charge your aftershocks if you need to. So this isn't a complex setting, complex bundle to set up at all. I think just a few little things. Open up your Surface, turn it on, kick out your kickstand, make sure your hub's probably already plugged into there, plug in your Mini. If you need the power bank, you've got a port available for it, and you could plug it in if you needed to and pop your shocks on, and you're ready to go. Next slide. So in the end, did we really hit all of those 5 factors? Did we hit the budget? Well, I think that depends on the school system. So some school systems, I think we can say yes. Some school systems, we can say no. And within that, those budget decisions, in this particular example, we have a Surface Pro. There are plenty of other 2-in-1 Windows devices that can function as a tablet and as a laptop, that have a touch screen that may not be as expensive as a Surface. So that's one place you can edit. Another place you can edit in here is to consider whether or not The student has to have that distance camera for sitting at the back of the classroom for that math teacher that's doing the writing on the whiteboard. If the student only needs the connection to a smart board, then the expense of that LVI camera may not be necessary, and the student may be able to use a simple off-the-shelf document camera to capture some uh, worksheets and things like that. Did we hit the mark when it comes to changing vision needs? Absolutely. Supernova spans magnification, speech, and braille. Within the low vision range, the Mini, again, it's a high powered camera. So as the student's vision changes and fluctuates throughout the day, the student can adjust the magnification and still have a very sharp image, even when it's at bigger levels of magnification. So the kit adjusts with her sight throughout the day, and it can adjust with her sight over time. Portability. This is a lightweight system that's easy to move from place to place. When you get the student oriented with the hub and what to plug and where, easy to launch, easy to set up, easy to pack down, easy to move from one place to another. Product support and training. LVI, we are working very closely with Dolphin. Dolphin actually has a terrific learning part of their website. On the learning part of their website, they have courses for teachers. They have courses for end users, for students. They have lots and lots of videos, lots and lots of quick start guides and those sorts of things. So on the Dolphin side, they have exceptional resources. With LVI's relationship with Dolphin, we are onboarding all of our resellers to make sure that they are comfortable with Dolphin. They also have to take some of these courses to make sure that as your front line of support, they're familiar with Dolphin and can help you solve issues and or point you into the direction of people who can when they don't quite have that answer. Also within Supernova, there is excellent AI feature that you can turn on and off depending on your school's needs and requirements. But you can turn that AI on, and if your student gets into a pickle, they can be taught like to ask questions to that AI and get the answers that they need. So that's built in. So product support and training from the Dolphin end, that's what we have. And then on the LVI end, what we're in the process of doing with LVI is for every single product that we have, we are creating a small, not small, large library of videos that show from unboxing to setup to all the different features to the software in bite-sized pieces. In other words, with the MagnaLink Mini, the first video would be unboxing. So you open the box, this is what's in the box, this is how you take it out, and then the next video might be this is how you position the camera, this is how you set up your tripod, this is how you move the camera from document viewing to distance viewing. And then the next video might be if you are using it with a tab or with a PC, how to use the associated software, how to install the software, how to use the key features in the software. All of these videos will be at your fingertips as a teacher, and you can teach your student to access that so that they can begin learning to independently troubleshoot as well. So product support and training is key. We also always want to make sure that we have somebody, if your device goes down, particularly the cameras, where you can call us, we can get an RMA, get it sent back in and repaired and sent back out to you quickly. And we do have that system in place now, and it works very well. And then the final thing, student willingness. So I think for Maya, I'm going to vote yes. I don't know her personally because she is our example, but I think the low profile of the MagnaLink Mini having a device on her desk that looks like everyone else's. That is what our students are looking for. They don't want to be different. At the same time, they want to balance that with they want to be able to have the tools they need to learn well. So I think we can tick that box as well. Next slide. So bringing it all together, we did identify key accessibility needs. So we looked at and talked about magnification, speech, screen reading, braille, OCR, camera connectivity. Having all of those key accessibility features in mind, we identified those and talked about those and put them in the context of having them in mind when you're trying to create a system for your student. We compared some cameras and talked about cameras. Do you need an all-in-one system that has an external camera that comes with it? Do you need a camera that um, uh, can connect to multiple platforms? Do you need the most portable, easy to connect and transport back and forth? Do you need that? So we talked about that a little bit. And then we did think about a particular student in a particular environment with a particular context and built her a system. So we hit all those objectives, and we have enough time at the end. If anybody has any questions, I think Lizzie can feed those to me, and I am happy to answer. You see any questions, Lizzie?
Just popped in. What is the battery life like for these devices? One complaint I hear a lot from my students is that the battery on their devices doesn't last through their day.
That's a great question. So I think that's going to be dependent on a bunch of different factors. And that's why, and when we're building this system for the student, is to think about having a battery pack ready for that student. Um, because especially with the iPads, so we didn't talk about iPads as much. We talked a little bit more about Windows because we wanted to highlight Supernova. With the iPads, they will absolutely suck down batteries. So we have tested a number of different hubs that you can plug into an iPad so you can have a battery bank connected at the same time as you have the camera connected. But to answer the question of how long, like how long do the batteries last, say, for a Surface or a two-in-one? That's going to depend on the particular platform device they have and what they have running, how many apps they have running. That's a hard question to answer. So, battery bank. Any other questions? I will say that we are already getting some of our reseller network having requests for these bundles, and we've had some already sell bundles. So if you are a teacher and or you work for a school system and you're curious about getting a quote for a bundle, let us know and we can connect you with the reseller in your area. Not all resellers are going to sell computers and put together this bundle. Many of ours, most of ours do. So reach out and to us and we can connect you with a reseller in your location and we can help you figure out what to put together for your student with that local reseller. Any other questions? In order to access your ACVREP credits, email acvrep@lviamerica.com with the title of the webinar and your name as you prefer it on the certificate. You can always reach out to me. Again, my name is Cheryl Saucher. You can reach me at Cheryl, CHERYL Saucher, SAUCIER at LVIamerica.com. My partner in all things good and bad and crime and everything else. So is Lizzie Harris, operating things behind the scenes. And Lizzie can be reached at 423 822-8660, or Lizzie Harris, LIZZIE.Harris, HARRIS, at LVIamerica.com. Thank you for attending, and stay tuned for our next webinar coming up next month, where we will finally be announcing a long-awaited device and showing off a long-awaited release of a new device from LVI. Thank you, everybody.